October 6, 1981, Cairo. Egypt's annual military parade celebrating the 1973 war against Israel. Anwar Sadat had made peace with Israel. He had shaken hands with a Jewish prime minister on the White House lawn. He had won the Nobel Peace Prize, and he had done it in front of the entire Arab world. Who had never forgiven him? The men who would kill him were in that parade. In Egyptian army uniforms, riding on one of the trucks rolling past his reviewing stand. They had been planning this for months, and almost nobody had tried to stop them. If this is the kind of history nobody teaches you, subscribe. Because every video on this channel is exactly that. This is the story of the assassination that nobody stopped. And the question that still has no clean answer: who really wanted Anwar Sadat dead? To understand why Anwar Sadat was killed, you have to understand what he had done 3 years earlier. In November 1977, Sadat flew to Jerusalem. He addressed the Israeli Knesset, the Israeli parliament, in person. He said simply that Egypt wanted peace. The Arab world reacted with rage. Egypt was expelled from the Arab League. Arab nations cut diplomatic ties. Sadat was called a traitor, a collaborator, a man who had sold Palestinian dignity for American favor. Sadat did not waver. In 1978, under American mediation at Camp David, he and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin signed a formal peace treaty, the first between Israel and any Arab nation in history. In 1978, Sadat and Begin shared the Nobel Peace Prize. In Egypt, the reaction was more complicated. Many Egyptians were proud. Many were relieved. Egypt had fought 4 wars with Israel and lost or stalled in all of them. Peace meant no more Egyptian sons dying. But inside Egypt's military and its growing Islamist movement, something darker was forming. Men who believed Sadat had betrayed Islam, betrayed Egypt, betrayed the Arab cause, and who believed that God required his death. Here is what makes this assassination different from most political killings. The Egyptian government knew a threat existed. They had been warned repeatedly. Egyptian intelligence had been tracking an Islamist militant group called Al-Jihad for months. The group had been explicit about its intentions. The Egyptian government and its peace with Israel were their targets. In the months before the parade, Egyptian security services had arrested hundreds of suspected Islamist militants in a nationwide crackdown. The crackdown actually accelerated the assassination timeline. The remaining members of Al-Jihad believed they had to act before they too were caught. The assassins had obtained their weapons and their positions in the parade through connections inside the Egyptian military itself. Lieutenant Khalid Islambouli, the lead assassin, had used his brother's name to register for the parade detail. His brother was a known Al-Jihad member who had already been arrested. The connection was in the files. Nobody checked. On the morning of October 6th, Islambouli smuggled grenades into the parade grounds inside an ammunition box. He replaced the live rounds in his rifle with blanks so his fellow soldiers would not hear his weapon fire differently when the shooting started. The reviewing stand where Sadat sat had minimal protective barriers. The security perimeter was designed to look impressive, not to actually prevent a close-range attack from within the parade itself. At 12:40 p.m., a military truck in the parade slowed to a halt in front of the reviewing stand. This was unusual. Trucks did not stop during the parade. Sadat stood and leaned forward slightly. He may have thought it was part of the display. Islambouli stood up in the truck bed and threw 3 grenades toward the stand. 2 failed to detonate. Then he and 3 other attackers jumped from the truck and ran towards Sadat, firing their weapons. The attack lasted approximately 12 seconds. Sadat was hit by multiple rounds. He was airlifted to a military hospital. Doctors worked for over 3 hours. At 2:40 p.m., Anwar Sadat, President of Egypt, Nobel Peace Prize laureate, the man who had done what no Arab leader had done before him, was pronounced dead. He was 62 years old. He had been president for 11 years. He had 6 months earlier given an interview in which he said he believed he would die in office, but of natural causes, in old age. Sadat's funeral drew one of the most extraordinary gatherings of world leaders in modern history. 3 former American presidents attended: Jimmy Carter, Gerald Ford, and Richard Nixon. 3 men who had rarely agreed on anything walked together behind his coffin. Almost no Arab leaders came. The Palestinian Liberation Organization called his assassination a natural punishment. Libya's Muammar Gaddafi declared a national holiday. Syria celebrated in the streets. In Egypt itself, there was mourning, but also, in some quarters, a quiet relief that the authorities struggled to fully suppress. Khalid Islambouli was arrested, tried, and executed in April 1982. 3 other attackers were also executed. The Egyptian government declared the case closed. But the question of who was truly responsible for Sadat's assassination has never been fully resolved. And depending on who you ask, the answer is very different. The official answer? Al-Jihad, a small Islamist militant group radicalized by the teachings of a blind cleric named Omar Abdel Rahman, who later masterminded the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Anwar Sadat made peace with Israel. He was killed by his own soldiers at his own military parade. And 40 years later, we still cannot say with certainty who truly wanted him dead. That question, was Sadat's death purely the act of religious extremists, or did it have a hand from within the state itself, is one I want you to answer in the comments. And if this is the kind of history nobody teaches, subscribe. There is a lot more of it.